Madam Chair.
Goodness, start over, my mic was off. I call this meeting of November 12, 2024, hybrid meeting of the Board of Finance to order. Commissioner Quesada is excused, and Commissioner Barboa will be attending via Zoom. We will start first with approval of the minutes. I move approval of August 27th, 2024 Board of Finance meeting minutes. Do I have a second? Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, we have a roll call vote, please.
Chair Baca.
Yes.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Yes.
Commissioner Barboa. Commissioner Barboa.
Commissioner Barboa is excused at the moment.
She's excused from this
Yes.
one? Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay, I'm
Just for the moment.
Commissioner Benson.
Yes.
Thank you.
And that passes. Thank you. We'll move on to the presentation. County Treasurer Nancy Burse.
Good afternoon, Chair Baca and members of the Board of Finance. I am Nancy Burse, your Bernalillo County Treasurer. It's with mixed emotions I come to you to report my last presentation to you as 8 years as your County Treasurer. Also with us is Government Portfolio Advisors, Deanne Woodring and Frank McDonald. This report is for fiscal year 25, first quarter ending September 30th of 2024. While we're currently in the second quarter, it will be reported out in the next quarterly meeting, which is probably going to be in February. That's the title page of the presentation, and we'll flip to the next page. It's not coming up, but I don't know. Okay, great. I need on the screens. There we go. So there's our agenda. It's a very routine agenda, but it does include at the end an 8-year review. It's quick. We'll still make it within our hour. But I did want to let you know that. As usual, we always start with our property tax collections, and this is the collections for the past 3 years, 21, 22, and 23. You see there, again for 23, we've collected even more. So we were charged with collecting $869 million, and as of September 30th, we collected $850 million. You know everything here about collection is limited to 10 years, which is the 10-year tax roll. And that's what we're looking at on the next page, which is our collection rate. So you see the full 10 years there from 2014 to 2023. 23, the rate of collections is 97.85. So, you know me, I always like to round up to 98% for collections, and we'll continue to collect that for up to 3 years. Everybody should have received their property tax bill. It was mailed November 1st. And remember, there's 2 halves on that. The first half is due no later than December 10th. The second half is due no later than May 10th of 2025. What is going to happen at the next report is you will see the 2014 fall off the chart, and on the bottom we'll add the 2024 tax collection year. Additionally, I was able to get some sneak numbers from staff, and for 2024, we are charged to collect $906 million. So if you look at historically our rate of collection of 52% for the first half, that would mean we're going to be collecting by December 31st, $480 million. Take that $480 million, add it to our current portfolio balances of about $700 million, and I will say gladly with a smile that we will likely cross that 1 billion mark again. So this will be the second time we will hit over $1 billion in our portfolios. Let's talk about some of these tax collections and the operations of that. Looking for the quarter, we had just over 4,000 telephone calls that came in for those 3 months. The delinquent collections for that quarter, just over 5 million. And you know how much I love my delinquent collection account, folks. And my staff is here. Most could not come and attend because we're getting like 9 trays of mail every day, and we want to get those batched and processed as timely as we can. So that 5 million is wonderful always to have. Then we look at the payment channels, how people affect us, and what they need to get their payments in. You look at 9,400 come in through the monthly auto pay program, as well as other auto pay situations that people have set up. You have 9,000 payments, that come in person and by mail. And then for online, we have 3,700 payments come in. And again, those are quarterly numbers, but that's still right on track for how we are. You're going to see those jump this next quarter because, of course, it's collection time. So everybody's hitting online. We've been getting a lot of emails about that. I'm getting probably 60 or 70 emails on weekends, which I monitor because I do not like our website to go down, or the technical term is when our server wobbles. I have that on good authority from the tech people. Our server wobbles. So we have to reset it, so I stay on top of that during the weekend. Next, we look at our pie chart, which is our distribution pie chart, because again, I collect for all the entities in Bernalillo County. So we know that it's a very, very steady. So when you look at the percentages in the pie chart, you go, Nancy, they don't change. You're right, they don't. We're very stable in our tax collections. So you can see for education, which is Albuquerque Public Schools, the public charter schools, C&M, they receive 34% of the collection rate. Again, my technical term of glumping that into the education category. The Bernalillo County has 22% of the collections. Then we look at cities and villages, the city of Albuquerque, village of Tejeres, Los Ranchos. They have about the same amount of 22% that we send to them. UNM Hospital is the health category of 15% of our taxes that I collect go there. And then the 2 smaller slivers, the one is environment, and that's of course your Amafca flood control, your Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District, and we forgot to update this. I don't think we knew it at the time, but the Edgewood Soil and Water Conservancy District is in there, and we will update this chart to reflect their new name. So they changed their name, I believe, was it June or July? And we finally got word of that. So we'll update those records for you. And then the state is 3%. So that's the distribution of the taxes for this quarter. Now we'll move over to some more of the money, and I bring up Deputy Treasurer Travelstead.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. Madam Chair, members of the Board of Finance, my name is Ryan Travelstead, the Deputy Treasurer under Treasurer Burse. I'll jump right in. Looking at gross receipts tax relative to the last 2 years, we're fairly stable. We're around $200,000 more than we collected in the first quarter from the prior fiscal year. So we're looking forward to seeing how that plays out through the year, because there's some different economic information that's coming across. So kind of seeing how that will impact us here in Bernalillo County. The next slide shows how the actual collections are comparing to the budget for the first quarter. So if we look on the left side, property tax, we have 204 million budgeted. In the first quarter, we collected 3 million. And you might think, whoa, that's really low for the first quarter, but that's not to be alarmed. The first quarter of property tax collections, there's November and December, so that'll actually bump up quite significantly in next quarter's report. If you see here onto the right side, again, there's the blue column is the budget for gross receipts tax, 285 million roughly. And so far we've collected around 66.5 million on gross receipts tax. And so which is 23.4%, which is about normal. The next slide talks about our bank balances and the collateral associated with those. You can see here on the farthest right column on the top row, the Wells Fargo on our operating bank accounts, we had $3.5 million that was uncollateralized and uninsured at the end of the fiscal year. Again, from our perspective, that's not a major red flag. The other bank accounts are all fully collateralized and meet the statutory and HUD requirements. Next slide here details where the portfolio balances are split out into the different buckets. You see at the end of September, we had a $710 million total par amount broken out between the different buckets. You see 2.3 million there in our bank account that's used to anticipate upcoming expenditures. The highly liquid at 85.6 million. As we have expenditures that are anticipated in the bank account, we'll roll some money from the highly liquid bucket into the bank bucket. And then cash match, we had 108 million invested, and what that is just a reminder is that that's for our payroll and debt service, kind of known outflows. We know when we're going to make those payments, so we'll go buy investments to match when those outflows will occur. And then 487 million in the core portfolio and 26.6 in the bond proceed portfolio. And if you'll see in the the fourth column over, between the last meeting and now, and actually today, the Federal Reserve has reduced their overnight interest rate by 75 basis points. And so you'll start to see that in the highly liquid bucket. That, if we look at last quarter, that would be closer to 5%. But as we go forward, as you see that in the news that the Federal Reserve reduces interest rates, you'll see that reflect there in the highly liquid bucket way sooner than you will the cash matched in the core, just because the cash matched in the core, those investments are a little bit longer term, so they're less sensitive to those overnight interest rate changes that the Federal Reserve will make. And then the next several slides detail the underlying holdings of each bucket. So in the highly liquid, we have, it's all less than 30-day maturity, so easily liquid, split out between the local government investment pool and IntraFi deposit account. That IntraFi deposit account, again, is fully FDIC insured. Essentially, that $52 million is split out to $250,000 increments in banks across the country. And the cash match detail, 34.9 maturing less than 30 days and 73.1 in 30 days to 1 year. And the breakout there between treasuries and agency securities. And the same thing here with the core portfolio. And you might remember from the last meeting, we discussed expanding the maximum maturity for the core portfolio. And I'm happy to say that after September 30th, we've since invested around 27 million in the 5 to 10 year time period. And so we'll report on that. That'll be reflected in the next quarter's report. And the bond proceed detail. And again, this portfolio is managed to anticipated expenditures as we expect to fund projects. And then finally, an overview summary of all the portfolios together and how those maturities will stack up. So between all three portfolios, all four portfolios, we have 127 million. It's maturing within less than 30 days, so ample liquidity to cover our upcoming bills. And then the final slide that I will have is to present that we've earned $7.8 million in investment income in the first quarter. Slightly above the first quarter of last year, and I'm really looking forward to see what the interest rate market looks like as the year progresses and what that will do with our investment income numbers. So very pleased with that. And with that, I will now turn it over to Deanne Woodring from GPA to talk about the quarterly strategy for the upcoming quarter.
Hello, it's nice to be in front of you instead of a square on the screen. So I have an annual requirement to be in front of you each year, and I always enjoy that. And of course, being here for Treasurer's last meeting is very special. She's done an awesome job for the county, and it's been a privilege working with her. So I just going to touch on the strategy, and if there's any questions, additional questions, I know when we moved the 5 to 10 sector, there were some questions last quarter. I'm really excited for you to be doing that. I think that's going to be a very good balance for the overall portfolio. So each quarter, we review the component segments of the portfolio and how those will be distributed. We're not recommending to make any changes to those strategies. Just remember, when we do start getting those cash receipts in, those will go into the cash match portfolio. So we'll probably go 100 above that 300 million for a period of time until the turnover occurs. So we park it there until they actually roll it out. But we normally will not have that cash match portfolio above the 300 million mark. And we're not looking to move the core above the 550. We're really anticipating balances staying pretty stable over the next coming year, or maybe even declining a little bit. So we'll be balancing that right around the 500 million mark into the end of the year and into the first quarter. So there's no recommended changes to the strategic plan from last quarter. We have a lot of detail on this screen, but we go through each portfolio. So this just lists out all the maturities. So as Ryan commented, these maturities in the cash match portfolio are all dedicated to your payroll and debt service. And that's worked out really well for you guys. Ryan's done a great job of really mapping that out, and he was able to provide us immediate direction on how, if that money needs to be reinvested or used. The goal is that kind of pulls down over the year because you're using it, and then we fill it back up as tax money comes in. And it just keeps the noise and lets us keep the core investment fund really stable. So the recommendation is to continue to maintain that and build that out a little bit more as the tax dollars come in, which probably will be starting in January that we start to invest in that. So right before your next meeting. The second recommendation is on the core portfolio maturity. So now this graph is showing you the buckets that we will be filling in that 5 to 10 year sector. So we already have implemented about 27 million. The target is to have about a total of 40 million between 5 years and 10 years. And we will manage to those components and to those buckets going forward. The timing so far has been pretty good. Our ad was at about a 4.50 yield on those longer securities. We're getting a lot of movement in the market. So we're trying to balance those and lock in those rates for the long run for the county. So I think that strategy is going to work well. We have a couple investments coming up here in November 18th that will reinvest into that same strategy. And that's what we're looking at to recommend for that component. Your duration now is going to be a little longer on the core component, but everything complies right in with your policy and fits very well. So there's no changes there. And then we wanted to note the asset allocation selections. We have alternative investments within your policy. So we continue to be a little bit overweighted to U.S. Treasury securities. There's not a lot of added yield to the agencies. Our normal world would be around 20% Treasuries and higher allocations to agencies. But when we don't see the compensation from those securities, we're not going to buy them. We're going to keep you in the higher quality Treasuries. So we ended the quarter at 39%. We have about 13% in supranationals and 48% in agencies. And we'll probably continue on that path. And then lastly, the recommendation for the bond proceeds, that's really at the direction of the bond team over here, where they know where your expected cash flows are. We get direction from Ryan to what dates you want to go to as those maturities come up or cash is there. So that's the final recommendation on the portfolios. So in summary, the recommendations are to maintain the cash match portfolio. We'll be building out to the next tier of maturities scheduled on the cash flow projections. There will be a little higher balance in there as we take the tax turnover roll. Reinvest the core portfolio to the current new strategy, incorporating that 5 to 10 year sector, which is only about 10% of the portfolio. And then to invest the bond proceeds as directed. And with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions?
Okay, so I will make one more comment. The strategy we've implemented, I'm really excited about. You're hearing about the Federal Reserve dropping those short-term rates. So the goal is with this investment component, we'll see those short-term rates come down and your portfolio is going to hold up really nicely. So thank you, and it's good to see you.
Thank you.
So we wanted to be able to just summarize what the past 8 years have been. Many of you have not been here for the 8 years to see the full breadth of what we've done in the treasurer's office. And I'm sorry, Commissioner Casada isn't here because he came on when I came on, so he would be one of the few that would remember that. But I know we have staff as well that kind of know what we've been through. But I wanted to share it with you. I think a time check, we're looking pretty good. I might even be able to get you out of here early.
Well, we'll still be here. Please continue, Treasurer.
So we're looking at, how did we really grow this office? As they say, turn the ship around and make it fruitful for Bernalillo County taxpayers and, of course, for you, the commission. So first, when I started was January 1st, 2017. That was my first day in office. Some things I found out about really fast was that we still were under a FINRA investigation that came about from the state auditor's office from my previous treasurer. And in turn, he turned over his audit to the Regulation and Licensing Department of the state, who again took action about brokers and security advisors at the time and what was occurring, because there really was an economic impact. And the next one shows that with staff furloughs, where we had budget shortfalls, and the commission decided at the time, instead of laying off people, it was thought to just provide furloughs and say you get some unpaid time. And I think, and Deputy County Manager Reagan can correct me, it averaged out about, I think, 4 days on the year. Three, I was wrong. 3 days out of the year that were uncompensated for employees to take that would make that budget. So that was very impactful to our strategy, to our investing, how we worked that. Then we talked about what happened in the legislature with some new bills that came about with the local election legislation that affected 2019 and 2021 delayed taxes. Because again, that's where they were trying to get local elections put into the same cycle as others. And that was school districts, local elections, as well as state and federal. Then we got hit by COVID. And I'll never forget sitting in my deputy's office of operations, Irene Cerna there. And of course, we were up at this old city building and being told by the mayor we had 4 hours to get out. Now, this was in March. We were looking at second half collections for that tax year, and we had 4 hours. And I will give all the credit to Irene and our operations manager next to her, Jessica Slater, for getting us out in 4 hours. We were fortunate that IT had already purchased and received some laptops for the move to Alvarado Square. We were able to get some of those to staff to remote, as well as have staff. I think at the time the rule was you could only have 30% of your staff in the office because of the spacing restrictions. So we were just on the fly thinking and making decisions. After that, with COVID-19, the legislature, with businesses closing, passed House Bill 6, which said, oh, this is awful, you can't work. So guess what? We're going to give you a year's extension to pay your property taxes, but it'll still be due We won't charge you late fees, so you have an extra year. So here we started running 2 years of taxes and collections for that cycle. So it was a great challenge. Then, of course, we were still packing it up and moved to Alvarado Square, this beautiful building that we're in now. But we know we had some challenges when we moved in. And the first one was that shooting of the window from the parking garage next door. Just, young people not really realizing what they were doing, or maybe they did realize. And that closed us down for several days. And that was very hard to take when you just moved into a gorgeous building and we're so excited. And let's not forget, a few months later, we had the cyber attack, and we did close for 2 days, 3 days. But also, even though we came, we still couldn't process. We were batching the mail, we were stacking it by day, rubber band, with notes on what day it was, and putting it in the vault. And I'll never forget my morning call to then State Auditor Brian Colon to say, I can't meet state statute of depositing money in 24 hours. We can't use our equipment, internet, anything. And his answer to his question to me was, then tell me what you can do. And I said, the best thing we did is we're batching every day what comes in and noting the day, and we're putting it in the vault that is safe and secure. And when we're out of this cyber attack, we know exactly what batch we need to start on. And he said, you've got it. As long as you've secured the public funds, you're safe. He says, but don't forget to write that down in case it comes up in the audit. And I said, thank you very much, Honorable Colon. But that you never expect as a county treasurer to make that call to a state official. And we did. And it did not come up as a finding in the audit, by the way. After COVID, I think everybody knows we've been experiencing hiring and retirements, just you wouldn't believe. And I think that's across private sector as well as public sector is dealing with that. So we continue to deal with it as best we can to keep all operations running and keep, staffed. Then let's talk about watering the tree. We have been able to continue community outreach, and you will see that as I passed it out to you. Our community outreach that we always do in the fall, 8 to 10 meetings where we go out and meet the public to talk about the tax wheels out. What questions do you have? What can we help you with? We always tag team it with the assessor's office because, again, people go, well, I changed my address and you have it wrong. The assessor's here. How about your value exemptions? Head of family, veterans, over 65 or disabled. So the community outreach is very important. We continue to meet and exceed that. That's some of our requirements that we have in our performance metrics. And that's just me. I mean, I love meeting the public. I've been so active in community, neighborhood associations, coalitions, you name it. I know them and have kept up with them, keeping them in the loop with all of this information. So community outreach is powerful. And we look at delinquent accounts and collections. Previous to me, it wasn't really thought of to collect for mobile homes or anything except real property. Well, we all know real property is where the money is. But if you stop collecting or at least slow down, we had over 2 million sitting there for the first year in mobile homes alone. That's troubling to me as an official who has to implement policy fairly and equitably. That's not equitable or fair to only collect one segment of taxes. So we put together the program to collect all those other options of mobile homes, personal property, livestock, all those things we now collect fairly and equitably. And I think you'll see that when I say I collected, or we collected, 5 million for the quarter. It makes a big difference to this community, to what you all can do. Next is the internal cash management. When we realized that first year that we were going to be moving to Alvarado, to the county's credit, they had a management report from a consultant about some of the things to take advantage when you consolidate 4 or 5 buildings into one, what you can accomplish. One of the things we said was cash management. Everybody will be here under one roof for cash management. There's still some out there, we know that. MDC is out there. We know all the community centers and parks, swimming pools, they have fees they have to collect, but they're on their own system. The rest, we went out for a merchant service agreement, or RFP, and we got the top-notch vendor that is also used in Seattle, Washington, and put in not only the cash collection system, but the back end of the teller system. So when you take the money and you put in your, well, you don't even have to put in numbers, it's that code that's on your bill. When you pass it through, it knows exactly what general ledger account it needs to go to. So we rolled that out to all the departments, all the big departments here. And really kudos to Deputy Travelstead for really geeking out, and he loves it, and going to all the different departments and training them, bringing them the new equipment and saying, here's how it's done. It'll be specific to you. You have to write it. You have to know your general ledger accounts, but we'll help you walk it through. And thank goodness, to date, I believe, DCM Reagan can correct me, we have not had any findings of bad cash management in the audits. Nope, we have not. That's huge. That's huge for an organization like this. What's also huge is IT thanking me to say, I've now brought them in to the 23rd century with IT. So when people say, oh, government doesn't get it right, they're always behind, I can tell you absolutely not. Not during my term, not for the next 5 to 8 years. You will be solid in this system. So it's very, very impactful. And here's another example of that, the internal lockbox. We found out our vendor actually had a module to take care of lockbox processing, which is that huge processing of 9 trays of mail. And we said, we really do? And they went, yeah, we'll show you, we'll demo it. And it doesn't cost you much because you're already a customer of ours. So we jumped on that, canceled our bank lockbox contract, which is more expensive than buying the module. So we saved money, sped up our processing, and made customers very happy about this. It's a win-win for everybody. Then we talk about iWorld, which is our tax system that we share with the assessor. And we've had 3 major updates on that system to really continue to bring us current, accurate technology. We've got a lot of information on that system, and it has to work. And when the state legislature wants to change tax policy on property taxes, we have to be ready to say, not a problem, we can do it. And we've been able to do that the past 8 years. Also, with part of that, talking about technology is really us looking at, again, we're in one building, we have one phone system, let's make it the best it can be. So we've gone on to Microsoft Teams to have team meetings. We've gone on to Ring Central, but we've gone beyond Ring Central. We have a true call center service on our phone system that the treasurer's office is using, and I think we're rolling it out to 1 or 2 other departments if they want it. They don't have to have it. We know we're the big users of that. Especially during tax season. So we're the guinea pig for that. And so far, it's been interesting. We couldn't get in the message that we were closed on last Thursday, but I think people kind of figured that out and didn't want to come downtown anyway. So that's great technology that we've been able to handle. So we also look at our investments. Can't forget investments, right? We've invested locally so that we have our local community initiative where we have some capital set aside at a community bank that specifically loans out money to people in Bernalillo County and small businesses owned here in Bernalillo County. And we're getting a great rate of return, working with the Economic Development Department on that so that they're always looking at, hey, how's that going? What are we doing? So that's been a great partnership as well. We also went to the public cloud access. That was part of our iWorld tax upgrade where we, after the cyber attack, we kind of went, yeah, I think we need to go to the cloud. It's more secure. Let's do it. So we let the assessor go first on that one, and then we followed behind them. Our state property turnover, that's the turnover every year that we give to the state for properties that are delinquent, and we don't ever like to give them lots of information, but after 3 years, we are mandated to stop collecting and it goes to the state. We last year went down to 331 properties were turned over to the state. That's the lowest ever that we've been able to track for turnover rates. That doesn't mean we did great in COVID. We jumped up to over 700. But we've been keeping it under the 400 mark, and now we're in the 300 mark. You never want to have people unhoused. We know what that causes, so we don't want to do it.
Madam Treasurer, I just want you to know there's like 4 minutes till 5.
4 minutes to 5, I can do it.
Couple minutes.
So looking at maintaining that stabilized portfolio and high yield returns, you heard from GPA that we've put in a great strategy with your help, of course, that has maintained us year over year. We're very disciplined about it. We have a great investment committee that everything goes by, and they give us lots of feedback. So we're very honored to have that. And again, the $1 billion investment mark that we've hit. And again, all of that is under the principle of safety first, liquidity second, yield third. And that's our review. You have one last slide, and I probably have 3 minutes left. Can you? Yep. So you see in your presentation packet, just kind of summarizing some of the things. I don't want to be too braggy about it, but numbers are numbers. Property tax payments, we've collected $5.7 billion in 8 years. When right below that, you look at how we have grown the portfolio with that strategy. So we compared 16 before I came in, and then this quarter in September. So you can really see the different buckets, the different segments of our portfolio, and then the total going from 450 to 708 million. So you can see the growth there. The strategy is working. We monitor it every month. We're meeting about it. And then, of course, quarterly through the investment committee and through you, Board of Finance. The last one is that investment income by year. So I just like to go the total, which is at the bottom there of $93 million. We've been able to provide the county in safe, liquid investments. So we're very, very proud of that. And for also what's on your desk is the outreach. I do encourage you that if you can make any of those, come and visit with us. They love seeing you too. So come on out. The other thing I gave you was, I'm always talking about that pie chart, but here's the numbers to that pie chart to help you analyze that. But really, lastly, I just want to say that I couldn't do any of it without the people at this table and the people behind me. I am so blessed to have a wonderful staff. Every challenge I have ever given them, they have risen to meet it and go beyond. And to me, that deserves my thanks. Thank you.
Treasurer Burrs, I just want to be the first to say thank you so much for your years of service, your passion and devotion and your good work. So I move to give advice and consent to the proposed quarterly investment strategy. Do I have a second?
Second, and Madam Chair,
It's been moved and
I have a
seconded.
comment.
Yes, of course.
Madam Treasurer Burse, you've been such a professional to work with. You took on the role in the department. The county was in much tougher straits, and you've gone through a lot. And I look forward to you passing the baton to Treasurer-elect Eichenberg, and he'll be receiving it in much better condition than when you did. And it's been such an honor to work with you. You're professional in every sense of the word. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Commissioner.
Vice Chair Olivas.
Madam Treasurer, I just wanted to say thank you. It's really been a pleasure serving with you. You put your heart into what you do, but you also bring on an amazing team and use your brilliance and your passion to bring so much success to the county and to help us do our jobs as the appropriators and policymakers. You help supplement our work with a substantial amount of additional revenue through your investment strategy, and that's a huge credit to you and your team, and you all just do an amazing job. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam
Appreciate
Clerk, Madam Clerk had a comment.
From your Thelma to Louise, I want to tell you I've enjoyed our 8 years together, Nancy. And it's been a delight working with you. Your staff has been great to work with us on everything we've ever asked, and you have been a delight. And I'll miss seeing some of my really dear friends that have worked with you, so good luck to you. Enjoy your retirement.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I don't believe we have Commissioner Barboa online, so we can just call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that passes. Announcement of our next Board of Finance meeting will be here Tuesday, February 25th at 4 p.m. And again, Treasurer Burrs. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This meeting is adjourned. We will take a 5-minute break and come back at a little after 5 for those of you here for the 5 o'clock meeting. Thank you.